Ali Fooladi. Thank you for joining me today.
Of course, brother. Excited to be here. Honored to be on the podcast.
For sure, man. Honored to have you. Also, just want to say that is one hell of a name that you have, Ali Fooladi.
Appreciate that, bro.
Shout out your parents.
Yeah.
But yeah, getting this thing started, would you be able to give us a little bit about who you are and what you do exactly?
Putting me on the spotlight right there. What I would summarize myself and the path that I'm on is a spiritual aspirant just like yourself on the road walking up the mountain of self-mastery is like the summary I would give it right there.
All right. What is this mountain?
Mm-hmm.
Where are we going?
Mm-hmm.
What is the destination?
So to me, in my perspective and what I teach and like the whole path that I'm on is the journey of the mountain is a metaphor of the spine. The way that I perceive the whole spiritual path is through the chakra system and the spine of traditional tantra, and the journey of self mastery that is referred to as the right hand path of Dakshinachara in the tantric teachings is the journey of overcoming compulsions of the brain, of the body, and overcoming karmas to inevitably transcend, as you know, samsara, the cycle of reincarnation, the cycle of rebirth, and all the things that are associated with this cyclical, mechanical nature of life that pulls your consciousness down into the dense material realms of only thinking about, survival, sex, status, and biceps, bitches, Bugattis, all that stuff. Like
Yeah.
that's the journey that I'm on, and hopefully I'm leading people on that journey too as well with the work that I'm doing. So that's my perspective of what I view the journey of self mastery all about.
Awesome. So, okay, where do we even start there?
Yeah, let's unpack it.
Yeah, well, let me ask you that. Where do we even start on that path?
Mm-hmm.
How did you get started?
So I would say I started, or like I got into the spiritual sides of reality, or like even having this idea that there is another layer to this existence beyond just the physical through smoking weed. To be honest, like that was like the gateway that opened up the higher chakras or higher realms, or and I'm not trying to sound like woo woo wah wah, but like that's what inevitably like altered my consciousness, because these are substances, plant medicines that shift your consciousness and allow you to travel up and down the spine, like I just said before. So once I got into that, during my teenage years, I was like, whoa, bro, like what is this shit? Like this isn't just, go to school, get a job, get a house, get a wife, get kids. Like there's something deeper to this stuff, and it
Yeah.
was like that was the first moments of like the I would say brainwashing, or me being asleep, started to kind of dissolve and dissolve. And then later on I got into deeper psychedelics like mushrooms and LSD and all these types of things that broke that barrier even more and more and more. And inevitably I got into a situation where I had my full blown ego death experience, a transcendental experience where I completely went beyond the brain and body. I completely broke free from that barrier that keeps your consciousness kind of glued as a prisoner to the brain and body. And through this experience, I essentially like shattered my perspective of what reality was at the time of birth. Like you're just kind of programmed, you're kind of just put into this mechanical system of do this, do this, do that. This is success, this is failure, this is what it means to be a man, this is what it means to be a top G alpha male, this, that. So I was like getting programmed with all this shit, and most people just follow with it. And I'm not saying it's anyone's fault, but like these tools, these psychedelics were like teachers for me that took the jar and just cracked it open for me, like, and just
Mm-hmm.
let everything run free. And I always say, like, once you have that red pill moment or that awakening moment, there's no U-turn back. So like I can try to live I'm not saying like I'm living like an extraordinary life, like I'm doing like crazy stuff, but like you can't live in this state of spiritual amnesia anymore. You know too much to be able to just go back into the same mechanical lifestyle, you know. So that's what I would say was the initial Kickstarter was first weed, and then the ultra catalyst was the psychedelics, which inevitably I had a huge trip that kind of really shifted my life forever at that point.
Wow. Yeah, very similar to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I've spoken to a lot of people, and I can't name one person that credited weed to their spiritual awakening,
Mm-hmm.
but I can, 100%. And I think it's all in how you use it.
Mm-hmm.
Did you use weed in a meditative sense?
I had no idea what meditation was at this time. I was like a teen,
So you
you
just
know.
smoked a lot of weed and then it
Yeah,
hit
you
you?
know, like just hanging out with your friends in the parking lot and shit, you know, just passing a blunt,
Mm-hmm.
passing a joint, and I would get contemplative, you know, like introspective.
Yeah.
And most people, like my friends, some of them were like, "Oh, I get all paranoid with weed." I was like, I'm like studying shit and like analyzing things on a higher perspective. That's why you get high, you know, you go from that, you get to a higher state of consciousness, and you know, in tantra, this is the Vishuddhi chakra. This is like you get in the mind, the throat chakra, and I'm starting to analyze things from a perspective where I feel, you know, my hands or my a pain or anything like that, but I'm not attached to it. I'm not like having this reflex of like pain or having a reflex of, you know, I'm hungry. Like I'm able to like observe it. And I was like, what the fuck is this? You know, like what's going on? And inevitably, I forgot to mention this, but when COVID happened, you know, the whole world is shutting down. And this is when I got into meditation and like got into just like surface level things where it's like, you know, you put on a guided meditation program and you get into a state of a mindfulness and awareness. I wasn't doing any like deeper sadness, but like that's what allowed me to realize, oh damn, like I'm hitting that same level that I get with weed without weed. Like what the fuck's going on with this, you know? So like that was like the kind of like the first tastes of what yoga, what meditation, what spiritual practice, sadness could do for you. How it can alter your consciousness without you depending on external substances like weed, like psychedelics, and all that.
Mm, yeah. What's interesting is there's plenty of people that smoke weed. There's plenty of people that eat mushrooms, do psychedelics,
Yeah.
but not all of them get the message,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Terrence McKenna has this saying, something along the lines of psychedelics don't work on stupid people.
Yeah.
And it might be a rather crude way to say it. I don't know if stupid is the right word, but there's some people where weed and psychedelics just hits them
Mm-hmm.
and they get the message, they get on the path, they get on the yogic path, the tantric path, the Buddhist path, whatever path, up the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
Some people, it's just like a recreational thing. It's just an escape, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the big difference is like the embrace or the escape that the potential of psychedelics leads us to.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I don't know. I mean, do you have any hypothesis why you think is like a certain foundation in one's mind, how somebody's wired that psychedelics just for some people is like a key that
Yeah.
unlocks?
I always refer to psychedelics and like weed to me, like at this point, is a mild psychedelic. Like after you've
Oh yeah,
taken psychedelics, you're like, oh, this is the same fucking thing. Like this is not like just, you know, you spark up in the parking lot with your friends and you just like, you know, do dumb shit, you know, but
if anything, it's more powerful. You know what I
way more
mean?
powerful. Yeah, yeah. Like you take psychedelics once and then you smoke weed the after it's like what the fuck? Like am I having like a mild like
Yeah.
mushroom trip or something like that? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I always say it's like a steroid for psychedelics. So what we're talking about going up the mountain, instead of you walking up the mountain and struggling against the mountain yourself through sadhana, through discipline practices and all that stuff, you take a helicopter and you go all the way to the top. But you can only like hover around the top. You can't put your feet at the summit. Like you can check it out and get a nice peek of what's going on, and then you got to come back down. Just like you know steroids, you can inject TRT, inject whatever anabolic steroids. You'll get jacked, but once you off the steroids, you're back to where you were before. So that's how I view psychedelics. And I think that the reason why people can shift into those states and some people just don't shift into those states, to be honest, I think is from like karmas. Like I don't think everybody's meant to awaken, you know, in this time and age or this incarnation. Like it just might not be your path for the time being, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's the one thing that I always kind of try to make it known within my teachings. And like, a lot of new age spiritual people will try to make this idea that everybody's got to be enlightened and awakened and we're gonna have this utopia and this and that. That's just not for everyone, bro. Like if you're some guy that just wants to watch football, drink beer and this and that, like I'm not gonna I recommend you to take 5-6 grams of mushrooms or smoke DMT. Like you happy doing that, like there's no reason for you to break the jar into that point. So I feel like it has a lot to do with karmas, and also that could inevitably get into the neurochemistry of the brain and all that stuff. Because I know what you mean. Like, some of my friends take mushrooms, and people that's been around me that smoke weed, this and that. It's like you guys are still doing it recreationally, and to me, it like shifted my life forever. It like fucking broke the veil of Maya for me. Like, what is the same substance? It's the same substance. Why did it shift for him? And then I'm like kind of going through like mild psychosis after that trip. Like why is
Yeah.
it that the difference? So I think it has a lot to do with your dharma, your destiny, your path. Like, are you destined to walk this the up the mountain of self mastery in this lifetime, or is it maybe something you do on for the next couple spins that you got in the cycle of samsara?
Mm. Yeah. And also, just want to say this for anyone listening: it's not like a condemnation or a holier than thou
Yeah.
statement. It's just peculiar to me. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, well, why don't you see it, man? I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. It's just very mysterious. Psychedelics are very mysterious. But yeah, I think it's as you said. It's because you're just not meant to see it in this lifetime
Mm-hmm.
for some reason, and that reason is a mystery. Um, yeah. So, how do you say we traverse the mountain without the helicopter? Then.
Yeah, this is what like that trip. I had that massive trip that really like just kind of broke things for me. Like I've done psychedelics before that time, and this was during the COVID times where I noticed there was like a fork in the road of just consciousness in society as a whole. Like the collective consciousness was going either this way or that way. Either you were going deeper into, scrolling on the phone and, watching porn, this and that, because you had nothing to fucking do, or you went deeper into like contemplation. Like I went deeper into that. I was like, bro, there's nothing going on. And for the first time in my life, at that point, I was 20 years old. I was about to turn 21. Um, and everything up until that point in my life was the same cycle. September to like May, June, you're in school. Around this time, November, October, December, you have that, Halloween, then you have Thanksgiving, then you have Christmas, and then you have New Year's. And it's the same cycle over and over. And finally, it fucking stopped. Like finally, there was no Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. There was nothing during those times. You were just kind of like in this liminal space. Like you were in the fucking uh in the void basically. And I was like, bro,
Yeah.
like there's something up with this. And when I'm smoking weed, I'm like thinking about this too. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? And randomly I stumbled upon like guys like Wim Hof doing like, breath work, meditation. So I was like, I got into that, cold showers and all that stuff, like the regular self-improvement things, but with like a spiritual twist to it. And at this point in my life, man, I did not read a single book in my entire life. Like I was the kid that, would walk into class, spark note some shit, do the test. Like I hated reading. I hated when somebody told me what to do. And I wasn't like stupid, but I just did not want to read. And randomly I wanted to like get a book, and I got the book Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse. And at this point I was like reading the book and reading like the life of because it's about the life of Buddha and like a short summary. And he went through this process of being a king in this same cycle of life, and then he broke free from it, went out into like the real world essentially, and became enlightened, all that stuff. And I was like, fuck, bro, I want to kind of do that in somehow, some way, in some sense. And I shaved my head, like completely buzzed my hair, and I was kind of mimicking that. And I planned like a big mushroom trip, because at this point also beforehand I was trying to have like some sort of a spiritual like breakthrough experience. And I tried having it before COVID. I was trying to force it, but the way I was living, I was not meditating. I was not, you know, practicing any type of sadhana. I wasn't having any discipline in that sense. I was going to the gym and this and that, but like I wasn't. My consciousness was not um, higher up on the spine, if that makes sense. And
Hmm.
psychedelics can only take you so far. So if you naturally bring yourself a little bit higher, it'll take you really fucking far. So during this time during COVID, I was doing all these practices and all that stuff, and I was in a better position. And I had a trip planned out, and I got that what I was looking for. I got exactly what I was looking for in a sense where um my my perspective of reality and who I was, the ego and all that stuff completely dissolved. And when you hear the word ego death, when you hear the word ego dissolution, like I was listening to guys like Terrence McKenna, as you mentioned, Ram Dass, all these people. I'm like, yeah, ego death, that sounds really cool, this and that. Until you have like the experience, it's a foreign language to you because I was literally ripped from this reality. But also when I was ripped from this reality, I felt this peace and this idea that I've been in this void before. I'll kind of break down what happened during the trip a little bit. So I always do this my trips in this way where I go on a hike. I go on a hike out in nature, either towards like a waterfall or something like that, because it's like it mimics the trip itself. So you're coming up as you're going up the mountain or whatever it is on the hike, and you're peeking at like the waterfall or whatever it is, and then you come back down. So it kind of mimics that, but you know, I take like an eighth of mushrooms, and I'm like I've done this before, nothing too crazy, but like on the way up, something like some voice told me take more, just take more. But it wasn't like English, but I was like fuck bro, like what the hell is that? But I was like screw it, let's do it. Like I'm here for the breakthrough, like I want it to happen. And I take like 2 3 more grams, and then I'm walking up to the waterfall, and dude, nobody is around me, nobody around me, just the people that I came with. And when we get to the waterfall, there are like it felt like billions of people, but it was like only like 100. But there's so much stimulations going on, music, this, that, and at this point, I'm like, yeah, bro, I'm disorienting from reality. Like I can't even understand what language these people are talking about. And I remember the last thing that I heard before I really got like pulled under was I was like sitting down, and I'm like, okay, bro, I just need to like chill out for a second. And some dude, I have no idea who it was, but like some guy that was there was like, John, what time is it? And he's like 3 o'clock. I'm like, oh, okay, it's 3 o'clock. And when I say it's 3 o'clock, you listen to it, you're like, yeah, it's 3 o'clock. And I was like, what the fuck does 3 o'clock mean though? Like, what does that mean? Because like all the anchor to reality was just dissolving. There was no time anymore, and it was just I knew at that point like something's about to happen. I knew at that point something's gonna happen, and naturally I like went over to like some like cave, and I was like, bro, I need to chill. Like there's too much stimulation going on, because I like my body got up for me and went and did it. And funny enough, I sat down and my body started doing the breath work that I was practicing, and every time I took a breath, inhale, the sun would come up. Every time I took an exhale, the moon would go.
Oh.
The sun would go up, and then the moon would come up, and then just kept
Hmm.
going. And then I saw this figure holding like a wheel, and I don't know if you've heard about the Bhava chakra before, right? The
Bhava chakra.
Yeah, so that's the you've probably seen it, like the cycle of samsara. It's like um uh, a deity holding it. Like if we show a picture, I'm pretty sure you've seen it before. It's like the
Yeah,
cycle
I'll
of
look it up.
samsara.
I'll put a picture on the screen.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that thing started to come up, but I had no idea what this shit was. I had no idea what this stuff was. But it was showing like a cycle of life in this sense, and it was telling me like this is like the cycle of reincarnation. This is what's gonna happen to you, because I had a near death experience before this time, and I was watching it over and over and over and over and over again, and it was telling me like, yo, that this thing is not you, not this is not all of you. This is like a tool that you're using for the time being. And if you would have died at this point, you would have came back again. And it was showing me over, but over and over, and it was like from a third person perspective. And there's so much stuff going on, but once I started coming back into my senses, the thing that I remember is, it sounds stupid, but like it made sense to me. I was looking at this tree, and that's like the first thing I saw when I came back to my senses. And this tree was, it had like birds sitting on it. It had like a rope swing. People were jumping off into the waterfall with it and all that stuff. And I was like, dude, that tree is doing exactly what it's meant to do. Like it's being a tree. It's following its dharma. That's what it was showing me. It's dharma. It's destiny. It was doing what it's naturally meant to do, but it's also uplifting everybody at the same time by doing it. And it was almost like that successive progressive states of what it was showing me was, you're stuck in the cycle until you find that, until you find your dharma. So kind of circling back to what you said, how do you get up the mountain? I have this saying that in order to what we're trying to do on within the path of self mastery is um, essentially dissolve your karmas and discover your dharma. Like that's the journey of self mastery, where you are overcoming those compulsions of like all your energy, your prana, your attention, your awareness is being pulled downwards and outwards into the material world, into Maya, like survival, sex, that, and these things aren't bad, but it's like you never realize what it is that you are brought here to do, what actually fulfills you, what satisfies you, instead of just, this bottomless pit. Because it's like I call it the hamster wheel of hedonism. Like you just keep fucking going and there's
Mm.
no end to this shit. Like, and I was at that point where after this trip, I was basically like, what the fuck just happened to me, all this stuff. And craziest thing is that there was one friend that I had that was into all these things like Terrence McKenna and all the esoteric uh, knowledge. And I was like, dude, what just happened to me, bro? And he was like, dude, you have to read the Tibetan Book of the Dead. And he showed me, and I was like, I'm not reading that shit, bro. That is a massive book, bro. I'm not gonna read that. And later on, what happened was that this guy uh, overdosed on heroin, and he died. And he was like one of my neighbors. So he was a newspaper writer, and in one of his newspapers, he was talking about like a day that he had around a city in our area where he went to the beach, ate tacos, and smoked cigarettes or whatever. And I'm like, dude, I don't smoke cigarettes. I don't do any of that stuff. But like, I'm gonna go do exactly what he said this day, just kind of for like remembrance. Go to the same beach, do exactly all that. And in that newspaper letter, he was talking about meeting like some guy at the taco shop that was like all into psychedelics, and this guy gave him the Tibetan Book of the Dead and all that stuff. And um, I go do the exact same day. I meet that guy, I tell him what happens and all that stuff, and we're talking, and he gives me the Tibetan Book of the Dead. And when I read that book, it explained exactly word for word what I saw in that whole experience. And bro, I was trying to find any answer to what I just saw. I thought I was going fucking like ballistic crazy, like. And at that point, I was like, these guys, if they knew that, what else do they know? So that's like the whole process of me like diving deep into like Eastern mysticism and this esoteric knowledge, because I was like, I saw that was real. Like that wasn't just some like hallucination. Like that was too real. But these guys broke it down like a blueprint on how to break
Yeah.
free from this cycle. So that is what the whole process is of getting up that mountain. It is dissolving all those karmas that make you keep your identity kind of rooted in this state of, I'm just a brain, I'm just a body, I'm here to do is just survive, have sex, achieve status. Like that's, to me, if that's what all we're brought here to do, we would have came here as animals. That's the dharma of a dog. Like that's not like what we're supposed to do all the time.
Yeah, man. Well said. Powerful stuff. It's dissolving the hamster wheel of hedonism.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. Yeah. I mean, that seems to be the two polar opposites of our being, right? It is the animal and
Mm-hmm.
it is this angelic being.
Yeah.
It is this like
Yeah.
disembodied being. And I think it's like, as you said, it's dissolving the cycles of the animal
Mm-hmm.
and becoming anew,
Yeah.
rebirthing oneself into new cycles. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I don't even know if it's cycles, it's actually just freedom. But from the human standpoint, it does look like different rituals and different cycles for one's life for sure. But yeah, it just comes down to living a different lifestyle, I think, to be less animal, to be less like,
Hmm.
yeah, less about oneself, I think, too, like less selfish and a little bit more selfless as well.
Yeah, and in Tantra, so what you just mentioned, the two polar opposites, they call this, the masculine and feminine, the Shakti and the Shiva. So
Hmm.
in today's day and age, you probably know it, like we're living in Kali Yuga. So essentially, what
Yeah.
they're saying in Kali Yuga is that your consciousness basically spawns, like like you're playing Call of Duty, Fortnite, in the lowest realms, in the lowest chakras. And when I say low, I'm not trying to say like one is better than the other, like the Shakti is lesser than Shiva, but you're unbalanced. You're all
Yeah.
in the extreme pole of Shakti, and Shakti pulls your energy downwards and outwards, is what I say. Like downwards to, survival, sex status, or on the chakra scale, the Muladhara, Svadhisthana, and the Manipura pulls it down and outwards. So your energy is always being pulled outwards towards activity. So when you are practicing, what I preach and what I teach is the right hand path. You're trying to reverse that by bringing the energy, your attention, all that stuff inwards and upwards, which is done through renunciation. And when I say renunciation, like back then I would hear that word and think of like a monk, like emaciated, no food, no sex, no this, no that. But what you're trying to do really is you're trying to reclaim back your power, because you're a slave to your senses essentially when you are born. You're a slave to Shakti. Like it's has such a strong death grip over you, and you're unable to, like, if you're hungry, your stomach is hungry, you have to go eat. You're horny, you have to go whack off. If you're mad, you got to punch somebody in the face. Like you have no control over yourself. But the because your consciousness is rooted in just the material, the dense, the gross. Your job on the journey of self mastery on the right hand path is to go towards Shiva, go towards the masculine, which is all about passivity and contemplation, like not being, in this reflective or reflexive mindset to where, this impulse happens and you have to act on it. You're trying to override those impulses. You're trying to, fast for how many days and just say no to the food. You're trying to say no to your sexual desire. You're just trying to say no to that, not because you view it as evil, not, like, the Bible will teach you, the Quran, like the Abrahamic traditions will teach you, but in a way where you're trying to master that current of energy, that current of prana that's being pulled downwards and outwards by creating that bridge up to the higher chakras or the higher planes of consciousness. So that is what you're trying to do with all these practices. With fasting, with meditation, with celibacy, all these types of things that I talk about is to reclaim back the power. Because in my perspective, in order for you to turn on the higher planes of consciousness, because the higher you go up on this journey up the spine, the closer and closer you become to realizing who you are beyond the brain and body, but also on top of that, what it is that you're brought here to do aside from just satisfying the senses. I bring
Mm.
up this analogy, like right now in California, it's raining. Yesterday, like it was sunny. I know the sun is still out there right now, but it's covered up by rain and it's covered up by clouds. Your true self, your dharma, your destiny is still like up in here, but it's covered up by clouds, covered up by karmas. So your job on this right hand path is to take back the power, take back the prana that's being siphoned outwards, and use that power to wipe away all those karmas that are in the way of realizing what's going to bring you true fulfillment. What's going to bring you true satisfaction that allows you to be beyond, desires. Because, your dharma is kind of like a hard concept to break down, because there's no like actual definition of it, but it's what's natural to you. And the an example I can bring is like a fish is meant to swim, a bird is meant to fly. You take a bird and put it in a cage, doesn't matter how much food, treats, sex you give it, it's going to be depressed, it's going to be anxious, and it doesn't matter how much dopamine it gets, it's still going to want more and more and more, because it's only a temporary escape from this realization that they're in the cage. That is your soul, that is your spirit. You can mask that idea that you are having a fun life, this and that, but until you have your until you're aligned to your dharma, you're never going to be truly satisfied. That's why you can see yogis and sages butt ass naked in caves doing absolute nothing and more blissful than the billionaire, you know? And of course, I'm not saying everyone's dharma is to become a yogi or sage, but they found it. And guess what? They don't play the game. They're not being played by the game of life anymore. They're playing their own game of life, and that is kind of like what the ultimate goal, the ultimate aim for me, and this whole perspective is about.
Mm, well spoken again, man.
Appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Now, would you say once we transcend, right, we achieve the Shiva consciousness,
Mm-hmm.
go up the chakras, attune ourselves with the higher chakras,
Mm-hmm.
then thus we can work with the lower chakras better,
Yeah, yeah.
as in Shiva dances with Shakti, and
Mm-hmm.
then that is our dharma.
Yeah, that is in Tantra they call it the left hand path. That's where you come back down the mountain. Like you go up, you get the
Yeah.
sword or whatever, the chalice at the top of the mountain, but now you bring it back. And what I like to reference to is right now everything is basically poison to you. I'm not trying to make everything sound like evil to you, but right now most of us, sex is a massive poison. The status, money, greed is a massive poison. All these different types of things are poisonous. But on the left hand path, what you're trying to do is turn poison into nectar. You have that state where you can be detached. You can say no to this, you can say no to that. But now you don't want to get stuck just up in here. For some people that is their dharma to just be up in here. The yogis, the sages, and there's actual recorded accounts of people bringing kundalini. Like that's the whole journey of self mastery is the kundalini rising up to the higher chakras, consciously altering yourself, which psychedelics do, like we just talked about. Um, some people literally hit the crown or hit the Shiva state and they die. Like there's recorded accounts of people literally just, it's called Mahasamadhi. They just leave the fucking body, like they're gone, they're cooked. Like, and that was their dharma to go back into the void. That void state that I hit, from that psychedelic experience. For some people, that is the end goal. That is what they want to attain. But for others, even when they hit that state, they say the call from the mother to come back down, to bring that, state of awareness back into the world to where I bring up this analogy. It's like now you're like a firefighter that has that fire suit and you go into that house that is burning. You're not getting burnt. What burned you before is no longer affecting you. You can have, all these different poisons and you can turn them into nectar, like how Shiva does that. And yeah, this is the whole mythology of that whole perspective. It's being able to be in this world but not be fucking consumed by it. And it's the spiritual armor that you build up through the left hand path, which is you re-engaging with all these things that were once poison to you, but now it's you can turn everything into divinity. And like the extreme versions of like the left hand path is you can see in India in the cremation grounds, the Agoris. Like these people, I'm pretty sure you've heard about them before, that
Yep.
they're like crazy motherfuckers if you look at from the outside perspective. But what they're trying to do is these guys live in the cremation grounds. They're eating the corpses of burnt people, dead people, deceased people, meditating on dead bodies. But what they're trying to do is break that idea that God is only all holy, all peace, love, light, and happiness. No, God and divinity can be found within the mud, the poisons, and all that stuff. And that is the extreme left hand path. I'm not saying you got to go do that, but that is like a perspective of what we can see how, you renounce yourself from all the poisons, but now you can play around in the mud without getting dirty in that sense. Like it doesn't phase you anymore. It doesn't pull you back into the mud.
Yeah, that's a good metaphor. You can play in the mud without
Yeah.
getting dirty. It's like you bring a suit down,
Yeah.
as you said, from the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I feel as though the work, the dance, is to bring other people up the mountain with you to
Mm-hmm.
serve, not in a forceful way, more as an offering.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, that's just, I'm personally speaking, that's how I feel. It's like I saw how beautiful it was at the top of the mountain,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to bring others along because I know they're not really the others. It's actually just a part of myself,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Do you feel that? Like the essence of service comes along with coming down the mountaintop?
Yeah. So when you were walking up this mountain and like when I first had that psychedelic trip, I was like, I was trying to tell everybody. I was like, yo, you got to do this, you got to do that, all that stuff. Like, you know, you have this state of like, bro, there's something like beyond this. But
Yeah.
soon I realized, again, it's not for everyone, but it's for those, like, you know, as I say, with the eyes to hear, the eyes to hear, the eyes to see, and the ears to hear. It's not for everyone, but that's why, you know, you create a platform like this with your podcast, and you know, we got channels and all that stuff to speak about these things for the people that you might be that catalyst. Instead of them smoking the weed, instead of them going on a psychedelic trip, you can be that fire that lights their fuse. Not everyone has that fuse of like the dynamite stick, that little string that comes out. Not everyone has it, but you might be the only way that it lights up. So I feel like it's almost like an obligation for me to give back this knowledge, because I'm being honest, man. Like, not everybody's gonna read the fucking Tibetan Book of the Dead. Not everyone's gonna read, you know, these hardcore like things. And I feel like it's my dharma, my destiny for the time being, to break this stuff down in a more practical manner, in a more applicable manner. That's why I have the name, the philosopher, which is, you know, my natural nature is to be a troll. Like, I always talk shit. I always, you know, bring some funniness to these different types of things. But that philosopher side of me is the whole premise of bringing back the truth. I want to troll while at the same time revealing the truth, which is, I feel like, my duty, my dharma for the time being, which is, as I'm walking up this mountain, like, for the people that are ready to walk up it, like, I'm leading the pack, I'm leading the charge, not in the sense that I'm the special one, because um, this is just what I feel like I'm built to do. It's not like something I chose. Like, it kind of chose me in that manner, and you're doing it in your way with the podcast and all that stuff. So it's beautiful to see, because not everybody is people around them like aren't going to be about this. Like, if you, I'm guessing, like, you have friends that aren't on the spiritual path, and if you talk about these types of things, they're gonna think you're schizophrenic, you know, and that's
Yeah.
totally fine. But you know, that's why you have this ability to create like a platform and on the digital world and bring people together, because some people, you might be the only voice that actually makes it make sense for them. You might be the only way that they get up and go up the mountain, because this incarnation might be their one way ticket to spiritual liberation. But if you don't speak that voice, speak that truth, they're going to be on the downward descent towards spiritual degeneration. And I like to think of it like, what if these monks, these sages, never wrote these books that I read? Like, I would be living life in a state of spiritual amnesia, and they did it. It's my job to give back in that sense. And you know, there's other gurus, teachers, and all that. I'm pretty sure that you've came across that like really shifted your life, and it's your job, your obligation to give that back in some way, shape, or form. I'm not saying that everybody's got to become like a YouTuber and something like that. Maybe you just go make music about this stuff. Maybe you go just write paint or do paintings about this stuff. But it's almost like it's a domino effect of dharma. One guy's dharma hits you, and then you get on your dharmic path, and then your dharmic path inevitably causes someone else to go on it. Like, that's the beauty of when someone goes up the mountain. Like, it's inevitably going to help other people go up the mountain, and it's not for everyone, but for the people that you're meant to help, you are you are doing your service, you're doing your duty. And that's why, you know, in the Bhagavad Gita, it's one of my favorite quotes from Krishna to Arjuna. He states that it's better for you to essentially fail pursuing your own dharma than it is to follow somebody else's. Like, you can
Mm.
have the perfect life, follow somebody else's path, what society says, but not only is it going to make you unfulfilled, but it's going to lead other people that were going to get inspired or like pushed to their highest potential if you actually pursued your destiny as well.
Yeah. Amen. I mean, I like to just think my service here is providing commentary on all of the sages that helped me, all of the
Mhm.
sages that paved the way for me to be able to
Who
see
would you
it
say
that
are like the
way.
biggest ones? I'll be interested to hear that. I'll
I got a
switch
lot. I got
the
a list.
yeah
I actually literally have a list. Let me see if I can find it.
yeah.
Let me. Might have to take a quick intermission. Like, I literally made a list one day. It's in my drive, my Google Drive. So I'll take a quick break here. Hold on. Oh, yep. List of masters. Here we go.
Um,
Okay. So I got 19, and you know what's funny is I have 20, but I never added 20. So it was a work in progress that I have yet to finish. So right here, list of masters, no particular order. Ram Dass,
Mm,
Buddha, Alan Watts, Swami Satchidananda,
mm,
Yogananda, and the whole Kriya lineage. So that's like, you know, 3, 4 people there.
mm-hmm.
Thich Nhat Hanh, Sri Aurobindo, Jesus, Swami Sivananda. Yeah, that's how you say his name. Yeah,
Yeah.
Swami Sivananda, Swami Vivekananda,
Mm-hmm.
Bhikkhu Buddhadasa, Lao Tzu, Terence McKenna, Jiddu Krishnamurti, Ramana Maharshi, Nisargadatta Maharaj, Aldous Huxley, Eckhart Tolle, and Muji. That's my
Sick, bro.
list.
I love it. There's a lot of similar names that we have in there.
Honorable mention, I'll say Tim Leary as well. I don't know if
Tim
you want
Leary.
to
Okay,
qualify him
no.
as a master, but yeah, Tim Leary is
Mm-hmm.
definitely on there. I'm going to add him right now, number 20.
There we go.
Tim Leary. I'm glad I made that list. Yeah, do you have anyone to add yourself? Anyone that didn't come up on
I
that?
have a lot of similar names. Funny enough, you mentioned I think Ram Dass was the first one, right?
Oh yeah, he's number 1.
Yeah. So, uh, 2 months ago, I was in Maui in Hawaii, and I went to his house.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
really?
yeah. So they turned his house into like a kind
It's
of
a
like a
temple now.
yeah, it's like a Hanuman temple, like a sanctuary. So it was cool because he was like one of the first people that because he was into psychedelics and then also got into Eastern mysticism and all that. So that was like a really good bridge for me to like get into like the understanding that this psychedelic experience, like these sages have been talking about it for years. Like that
Hmm.
whole story of him, giving Neem Karoli, Baba, like the LSD and all that stuff. Like it really like spoke to me. So he's definitely someone that really kickstarted it as a catalyst on my path as well. But a lot of similar names, but I will say somebody that you should definitely get on a podcast soon is somebody that I met on YouTube through my podcast, which is Skylar Miller from the channel Ride the Tiger Yoga or RTT Yoga, and he's like to me one of the best, if not the best person in the modern world, breaking down Tantra from that perspective of the traditional path of the Aryan path that we had one podcast together and we went like 2 hours because I was just like picking his brain and all that and it was a really profound, and we've been in contact, keeping in touch with each other. But the main other, I guess, figures or gurus for me were actually a lot of books. Like the books like spoke through me, and I would say the Tibetan Book of the Dead and the Bhagavad Gita, man. The Bhagavad Gita is something that it really just that book is beautiful, man. It's so beautiful
Oh
to me.
yeah.
Yeah,
If I were to recommend one book for anyone to get to the top of the mountain, it would be the Bhagavad
yeah, the
Gita.
Bhagavad Gita. Yeah, that's a
Like
banger.
just one book, the Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah, banger for sure.
Definitely. Have you explored the Bible at all with this tantric path? Have you
So,
gotten to the Bible?
um, I would say my perspective on the Bible and just all Abrahamic traditions. I'm not like a fan of it at all. Like in a sense where I'm not trying to say any downplay anyone on their path and all that stuff. Like from my perspective, it's the due to the fact that I know we were talking about this earlier when it comes to my name, and you're asking if I was Arabic or if I was Persian or something like that. And if you look back at the lineage of the Aryan tradition, when I say Aryan, I'm not talking about the Hitler Aryan. I'm talking about like
Yeah,
the
the real Aryans.
yeah, the real Aryan. So it was the Indo-Iranians and the Indians that had like that core like connection in the Indus Valley. So that's why I feel like just the information from you know books like the Bhagavad Gita, like it not only speaks to my soul, but it speaks to like my blood. Like it feels like the culture and all that stuff feels very rooted within me. And the polytheistic traditions, the beauty of how like there is divinity within everything rather than one ultimate source, like a sky father watching over you as like an overlord, seeing if you've done this right, done that wrong, and all that stuff. So I grew up like in a place where my parents sometimes would have to go, just drop me off at a church for daycare basically. And even there, when I was as a kid, I was like, there's something a little off with this shit, a little off with this
Oh
stuff.
yeah.
And I'm not saying like everybody is gonna think like me. I'm not trying to convince people, but I always knew from the start, like these Abrahamic traditions, it's a lot of brainwashing, and it's a lot of, you know, it comes out of a lot of fear, you know. And as I was getting into all these different types of traditions and all that stuff, I was getting into like Gnosticism and like to see the other mystic side of Christianity. And they would have some good parts and bad parts, but it never really spoke to like my soul and like my blood in that manner. So I would not say everybody is meant to kind of go on this path of like Indian Tantra, that Indian tradition and all that stuff. But I will say that a lot of people, even from European cultures that are dominated by Christianity and all that, like they have the Viking tradition, which is also true, which is just like the Aryan Indian tradition. They have the Celtic tradition that got wiped out from Christianity. They have the Greco-Roman tradition, which got wiped out by Christianity. So it's like the polytheistic traditions that have this emphasis that you can become a god. And when I say become a god, I'm not trying to say like a lot of people probably clicked off and like, what the fuck is this guy talking about right now? You know, when I say become a god, it is realizing you are a part of that unified source, but also can become a fragmented piece yourself. You know,
Yeah.
that's what the left hand path is all about. You can become like Krishna and all these deities. They want you to become a god, that you're building a bridge to the gods in that manner through your sadhana, rather than being absorbed into the dream of God, being absorbed into heaven. Like when I was growing up as a kid, like in the daycares, and I was like, that version of heaven sounds horrible to me. Like that's like everything's pure white, you know, like what I thought as a kid, you know, because I was like younger, because I was watching SpongeBob and stuff at the time. If you remember the episode of where they're in the future and everything's all chrome,
Yeah.
yeah, I was like
Yeah, that's heaven.
envisioning that. Yeah. And I was like, that sounds horrible, bro. Like their version of heaven, they're saying that this is all good, that this is all this is what you should aim for. I was like, I don't want that though. But if you don't want that, there's only one other option, which is you're burning for eternity. And that's what another thing that I would say that the Aryan tradition that really spoke to me is the idea of it's like a Nietzschean idea of going beyond good and evil. And the Bhagavad Gita is one of the best examples of that, which is the whole story, a warrior about to go fight his family. If you said that to me, if I said that to you, you'd be like, that's fucking horrible. That's horrible. I don't want to go fight my family. That is inherently evil. Like just killing my own family. But Krishna is like the what Nietzsche calls the Uberman, you know, the overman who's beyond good and evil. And he realizes that it is your destiny, it is your dharma to do this. And if you abandon your dharma, you might be looked at as a good person in the moralistic terms, but you're abandoning your true nature, which is, he says in the book, for a warrior, um, a battle opens up the gates to heaven. For you to walk your path up the mountain of self mastery and all that is through war, is through fighting, is through killing. And in the Abrahamic traditions, there is only one way, which is, you know, even Jesus says, I am the way, I am the one, I am the only thing. And for me, that's why the polytheistic traditions speak to me more, because I even say this, the way I'm going up the mountain of self mastery is not the way Gary would. It's not the way somebody else would. We're going up the same mountain, but you might start on different parts. We're all trying to get to the same top, the pinnacle, which is our dharma. Like your dharma is even different too. Yours might become an artist, a this, or that. Not everyone's meant to be just like a sage or like a mystic, a monk, and all that stuff. So that's one of the main things I would say, like, is not deterring me from really diving into the Bible, but it's kind of showing me that my path just is more oriented towards, you know, the Eastern traditions, the Aryan traditions, which is all about, again,
Hmm.
going beyond good and evil. And one of the topics that I really enjoy, I kind of just broke this down on my private community, is about punya and pop. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
So punya and pop is like the breakdown of good and bad karma. So I'm putting air quotes if anyone is listening to this, because you have this idea of there's inherently good things, inherently bad things. But in the tantric traditions, in this tradition that's non-dual, there is no good or bad. It's just, is this good for you to pursue your dharma, or is this bad for you? in pulling you away from your dharma. So, like an example, the warrior. Is it good for Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita to just go be a monk and be peaceful? In moralistic terms, it's good. In the slave morality terms, as Nietzsche says, it's good because somebody told him it's good. But for him, inherently, it's pulling him away from his dharma. It is bad karma for him individually, and that's something that a lot of people within these traditions completely lose. They lose the individuality of their experience within this reality. It's all good or bad, black and white. There is no ability for them to perceive, is this good, is this bad. And one quote from Swami Sivananda, I remember, he states that the food you give a lion would kill a cow. The food you give a cow would kill a lion. So who's right, who's wrong? If you look at a lion in the world, in the jungle, killing an animal, are you going to say, oh, that's an evil human, evil entity? But if you look at a cow eating grass, you're gonna be like, wow, it's so peaceful, this and that. Who's right? Who's wrong? Like there is no one set rules and codes of conducts of what it means to live a spiritual life, a good life. So that's one of the main things that you see in those Abrahamic traditions that it just doesn't correlate with me, which is something that push me more even towards the Aryan traditions. If that makes
Mm-hmm.
sense.
Yeah, for sure, man. I agree. I started off with, yoga, the
Mm-hmm.
whole Eastern philosophy, the Eastern path. And then I dove into the Bible and Abrahamic religions, and it made a lot more sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll try to explain the context and how it makes sense,
Yeah, break it
because
down.
there is virtue in honoring our unique path, but when one reads the Bible, you can see that it's like a guidebook for all of us, because you can say that there is a unique essence to all of our path. We all have our Svadharma,
Mm-hmm.
but yet we're all human beings. So there is still something that we can relate on. There is an essence of similarity in all of our paths, unique and similar at the same time. And I find the path of Jesus, particularly, I was going to say it relates to everybody. That might be a bold statement.
Mm-hmm.
It relates to a lot of us, at least. If you know how to dissect Jesus's life, to really see that his life, not just more than his teachings, like his entire life, his incarnation here is like your incarnation, the Christ consciousness within. If you can feel that within yourself, like his story within your story, that's how it helps. The story really of the whole Bible, the Old Testament and the New Testament, is like a culmination of our story of humanity. If
Mm-hmm.
you know how to analyze that whole story, you'll know how to analyze your own story. It's definitely big. It's a big story for sure, but there's lessons in there that a lot of us can relate to. That's the only thing I would say is the value of the Old Testament and the New Testament. And also, there's a big difference between religion and actually reading it for yourself.
Yeah.
Taking somebody
Mm-hmm.
else's word for it that doesn't even understand it themselves, and then actually diving into it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's where we came from. Like, where all of these old religions of Christianity, where it came from over 2,000 years, was mostly taking somebody else's word for it. Somebody that knew how to read the Bible, you take his interpretation of it for yourself. But now we know how to read. So you can just literally dive into it yourself, literally read Jesus's word yourself and interpret it. And that's the big difference between a cult, essentially,
Mm-hmm.
and actually learning the true values and virtues that Jesus brought us.
Mm-hmm. So you're bringing like a
So I wouldn't
yogic,
totally discount it.
yeah, you're bringing a yogic perspective to these teachings. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah. And
mm-hmm.
Yogananda actually wrote
Yeah,
a commentary on the entire Bible,
mm-hmm.
which I would highly recommend anybody to read that is into Eastern philosophy. First of all,
Mm-hmm.
before you read it, the Bible yourself, read Yogananda's interpretation of it, because his interpretation of it is astounding. He's so well versed in the English language.
Yeah,
It's extremely impressive. So yeah, it's called the Second Coming of Jesus, or the Second Coming of Christ consciousness within you.
mm-hmm.
It's a 2-part thing. It's like this big. It's like longer than the Bible
Yeah, I've
itself.
seen it. Yeah,
Highly recommend that. And also the Yoga of Jesus by Yogananda, which is a more abbreviated version.
mm-hmm.
So yeah, I dove into that first, and then I read the Bible
Actual
myself,
Bible.
and I'm
Yeah,
like, oh, this makes sense.
mm-hmm.
It's powerful, man. I wouldn't let religion turn you away
Mm-hmm.
from the
Yeah,
power
no, I know
of
what you mean. Yeah,
Jesus.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to preach to you.
No,
I'm
no,
just
no.
saying for
I know,
anybody
I know, I know. I
listening to
totally understand. Yeah, no, this is what the
it.
podcast is about, bro. Like, I'm learning perspectives from the entire path in my journey. So I'm not ever closing my mind to anything. It's just this is what I've gathered along my way of like this is what I see from my perspective, my angle. But I never try to tell people that my path is for them or their path is for me. This and that. Like you have to go experiment. You can use
Yeah.
teachings from everything and make your own. Like that's what I kind of
Yep.
talk about. Instead of building or following somebody else's philosophy, I'm like building my own philosophy in that manner of like taking
Hmm.
all these little pieces from everything and kind of plugging it into mine. But I would say the ones that hit hard for me the most is the ancient traditions, the Aryan traditions, and all that. Yeah.
100%. You know why I think they hit is because they're the closest to um, the essence of it. They're the
Mm-hmm.
most pure,
Mm-hmm.
right? The Vedas are the oldest religious text that we have
Yeah.
before, I mean, after it was spoken word. It's the Vedas
Mm-hmm.
and the Upanishads and the Gita, the Mahabharata. Everything else came after that.
Yep.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think that is also the path of the 21st century Western man and woman is to create your own religion
Mm-hmm.
because we have so much at our disposal. We have all of the resources of all of these traditions. So it's take what you want, leave what you don't.
Yep.
Incorporate what resonates and ignore what doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
It's that simple.
Yeah, and this is what like tantra is kind of like all about, which is when I say tantra, like even when I heard about this, you mostly just think about like tantric sex and stuff like that. It's like the new age, the Western world has basically like butchered so much shit about Eastern spirituality. It's kind of sad, but
Yeah.
it's basically a science of spirituality. It's the lens in which you observe things. So you can be a tantric Buddhist, a tantric follower of Sanatana Dharma. You can be a tantric Christian, even like all these different types of things because it's all about experimentation. Like a scientist puts this together and that together, and it bubbles up, and it's a reaction to it, and that's what you're trying to do on the spiritual side of things with tantra. So you can take teachings from here, teachings from there, put it together, spin it around, and then see what happens. So that's what you're doing right now. Basically, what you said, you took the yogic perspective, the Bible, you spun it together, and now you're creating your own philosophy, which is aligned to your dharma. That's going to allow you to become the best version of yourself, and that's what this path is all about. You can follow again that quote from the Bhagavad Gita. You can follow somebody else's rules from A to Z perfectly, yet you still will fail pursuing your dharma, which is the whole point of this whole thing. So you kind of miss the plot trying to just play the part.
Yeah. You missed the plot trying to play the
Play a
part.
part.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. I had a point, but that last line was good. That kind of threw me off. What was it? Oh, I gotta think now. Well, we talking about creating your own
Yeah,
religion.
tantra, the science of it, the
Oh,
experimentation.
that's
Yeah.
exactly that
Mm-hmm.
was the point. It's the Holy Science,
Mm-hmm.
which is a book
Yeah.
by Sri
Yeah.
Yukteswar.
Yeah.
It is science. It's all just trial and error. It really is treating. I think the path ultimately is a giant science experiment
Mm-hmm.
on yourself. It's not like very woo woo. It actually is very methodical,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Maybe just because we're guys, but I think for everybody, it's methodical and calculated, you know? Um, yeah, I just want to say that it's not like the path. Like, if you're really a true spiritual seeker, and seeker isn't even the right word, if you're an aspirant, if
Yeah.
you're want to get up to the top of the mountain, this is something that is calculated, is surgical in a way.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of serious. At the same time, it's not. You can't take it too serious, right? Kind of have to play both sides.
Mm-hmm.
But on one hand, it is very serious, and this is like what life is all about. It is performing the experiments to ultimately become anew.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I just want to say that, get that off my chest.
Yeah, like
The holy science.
there is no dogma. There's no like dogmatic approach. Like there is
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
one size fits all solution. Like you have to be willing to, which is a lot of people aren't willing to do, and that's why you said right there, like you have to take it seriously. Like not everybody is going to take it seriously in the sense of doing their own experiments, doing their own studies. Like most people just want to hear a word from a pastor, a preacher. This, how do I get to heaven? How do I go to here? How do I do this?
It's not that easy.
It's not that easy. And this is why, again, not everybody, I always say this, people that are willing to walk up that mountain, you got to be a little bit of a savage. You got to be able to jump off into the unknown. And I'm not sure if you've seen like the Fool tarot card.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, so that's the Fool jumping. He's you have to be a little bit of a dumbass kind of to walk the spiritual path, because you're going against the grain of everything everybody has told you. You have to be willing to fall off the cliff into the unknown, into the abyss, and figure it out on your own. Like
Yeah.
nobody is going to save you. I always say this, to the people I work with too. I'm not here to help you. I don't know your dharma. I'll never know your dharma. But what I do know for sure, and what these teachings have told us and taught us, and I'm just kind of reviving it, making it more practical, give us a blueprint on how to dissolve our karmas. Because if you just wipe away those clouds, those karmas, the sun is there, but your sun looks different than mine. It shines different than mine. It's your own dharma is already there within you. There is no one dogmatic approach to, like, if you do this, this, and that, you're gonna be going to heaven. You have to be willing to, again, jump into the unknown, have no safety net, no harness, and figure it out on the way, because there is no person that's going to come and save you. There's no like that savior complex of especially on this spiritual path, on the yogic path. For the Abrahamic traditions, there is a savior that's coming to come and grab you. You just have to believe in this, that, you'll be good to go. But the yogic path, the tantric path, you got to go figure it out yourself. Like Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, I wasn't saying I'm gonna come fight for you, motherfucker. You got to go do that shit yourself. Like I'm gonna just tell you what it is. I'm gonna break it down for you, but like you have to go and do it. And that's why I say you got to be a little bit of a savage. You got to be willing to, go against the grain of what society tells you, what your friends tell you, what your family tells you. Because when you walk the spiritual path, what you are doing is essentially becoming what everybody's afraid to become, which is their true self. Everybody's is kind of like bottled in and like putting on a mask, and you rip the mask to shreds. You basically walk around naked. Everybody's scared to walk around naked. You're the only one out there, doing it. That's why you see the Agoris and all these yogi sages. They don't give a damn, which is one of the things that really uh spoke to me. Like, these motherfuckers don't care at all, bro. Like, that's like the peak of what you want to hit in life, to where a lion doesn't care if its balls are out, or a monkey doesn't. They're just doing what they're meant to do. And I'm not saying this is in the sense of everybody's got to be naked, but what I'm saying is they're the whole point of the spiritual path is for you to be unfiltered, your true essence, your true nature, to the fullest degree, because that's going to fulfill you. And also it allows you to play your role and your notes in this cosmic symphony, or this cosmic melody that we call life. Because if you don't play your note, the song goes off beat, and a lot of people are not playing their note right. And this is why this song sounds so distorted right now, because people are so disconnected from this idea of dharma, of destiny, of their duty, of what they're meant to do, aside from just following whatever somebody else told them from birth, of school, job, housewife, kids, die, retire. Like, that's, for some people, that is their dharma, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like in the Aryan caste system, I don't know if you've ever heard of it, like the Shudra class, the common workers, like that's their dharma, and they should be viewed as just as divine and just as strong as spiritual aspirants as the Brahmin, the priest, the person that's writing the Vedas. Like, both of them are on the same level. There's nothing wrong with either one of them, because the dharma of the Shudra is to uphold society just by doing, school, job, wife, house, kids, retire, die. Beautiful. For some people, it's the Kshatriyas, which is, the warriors, the upholders of dharma. That's their path. And they have this perspective of how each one of these castes in society is correlated to your nature, to your guna, to like your true essence. And the whole journey of schooling and all that stuff back then was to identify what is your nature, so they can put you in a position where you can flourish, with your innate skills, innate talents that nobody could teach you. It was just already inside of you, and that's what we're all trying to do in this society. But it's this society is kind of working against you, so you're gonna feel completely like an outcast at times. But that's why it's so beautiful to have places, podcasts like this, communities and so forth, because there are spiritual aspirants and anyone listening to this that are just like you, just as schizophrenic as you, in that sense. And there are places where you can gather around, like these kulas, as they call, like digital places, to where schools and all these different types of things, to where you can be around individuals that you can feel and sense the same aspirations that you have towards the spiritual path, and you're not going crazy, bro. Like, you're actually becoming more sane in this process.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is no measure of peace to be well adjusted to an insane society. I think that's the quote. Something along those lines that Krishnamurti said.
Beautiful.
I always keep that in the back of my head. I'm going to look it up word for word. I'm going to get it right. Hold on. Yeah, this is it. It is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society.
Yeah, that's good.
That one hits. Yeah. That's the thing, is you become like a revolutionary.
Mm-hmm.
You're the rebel. And it may seem tough for sure. Everyone around you might think you're crazy, but you're not. You're actually the sane one. It's tough, though. It definitely is tough, but it's worth it.
Oh yeah.
And there's no other way, too. Once you kind of, see
Yeah,
the
no
top of the mountain.
U-turns. Yeah, you can't go back. There's literally no
Yeah.
U-turns anymore. Yeah.
Yep. And that's why they killed Jesus. He was the most extreme example of that. Like, get this guy out of here. What's he talking about?
Yeah.
He was an ultimate rebel against the system. He was against the religion of the Pharisees. And they didn't like that. And then, ironically so, the Christian religion created a religion around him.
Yeah.
Just so counterintuitive to what he was doing. But it's all the same path for all of us, whether it's Jesus, Krishnamurti, Ali Fooladi, Gary, whoever's listening. It's all the same path. It's all the same mountaintop.
Mm-hmm.
It just, well, I mean, I don't know if it's all the same path, but it's all the same destination. We all have different paths.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the glory of the times is, I think it's attainable for all of us. As you said, we can relate through time and space in a non-linear, non-local form.
Mm-hmm.
Using this, we can tap into the Bhagavad Gita. We can tap into the Upanishads just with a simple Google search. So I think it's attainable for all of us. It's a realistic possibility for all of us. If you really want to become the sage, to become realized, to become your own Buddha. Seriously. These are the times. Right? They're unlike any other times.
Mm-hmm.
All the sages that came before us, they didn't have the internet. They had to be lucky enough. Their karma had to be good enough to be born in the midst of somebody that was attuned to the dharma. And you had to be very, very lucky, that's for sure. I don't think a lot of people, unless you were born in the East, I'm thinking like West.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like Europe, the Americas,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean anywhere outside of India for that matter. And that part of Asia, you didn't have any kind of exposure to the dharma at all.
Mm-hmm.
All you had was dogma.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, there was nowhere to look. So yeah, take in these times. There is a sense of urgency, right? Do you feel that, like, this sense of urgency to utilize this short life that we have to become the version that we're supposed to be?
Yeah.
I feel that, at least. It's very urgent.
Yeah, I always say the people that are listening to this, like, I don't know how, I don't know why. Maybe it's some past life stuff where you've dissolved some karma, so you put into this incarnation a better position. But if you are listening this far into the podcast, it resonates. Something resonates, with this message. Like, the way I speak about it might be the way that you resonate with it. Maybe the way Gary speaks about it might be the way that you resonate with it. But take away the messenger. Like, fuck both of us, The message itself is what matters the most. And we're just conduits. We're just kind of like the voice boxes for it, like manifesting it into the material plane. If this resonates with you, that shows you that this incarnation could be your one-way ticket where you can punch in your ticket, your ticket to liberation.
Mm-hmm.
Most people can't watch a video for this long. Most people, when you were talking about these topics, is going right over their heads, and that's totally fine. Maybe this is not their incarnation, but if you listen to this stuff and it resonates with you, then it's a sign that you're meant to be on this path. And I always say this, Bill, though, that you can listen to the next podcast Gary does, watch the next video I do, and get all this knowledge in the brain. But if it's up in the head and you're not actually applying it like in your heart and going from the head to the heart, like actually living it out, it don't mean shit, you know, like it don't mean shit. Like if
Mm-hmm.
you know there's a mountain, you know how to climb up it, but you're too scared to climb up it, it don't fucking matter, you know? It does not matter. So that's why I say you have to have that ability, that want to actually apply these things. Even though I would say that the journey of self mastery is an overall passive path. And what do I mean by that is that you're trying to become more passive in a sense where not as reactive to the world. It is still an active journey where you are actively renouncing things. So it ain't gonna happen just by listening to stuff. You have to actually walk the path yourself. You know, if you're somebody that is listening to this stuff, and then you go out and you engage in the things that are, again, are not evil, but you know are pulling you away from your dharma, pulling you away from propelling your consciousness to this higher planes to realize your true self. You're basically what I like to call, people that watch self-improvement videos, watch self-help or read self-help books over and over and over, but never apply it. They're called mental masturbators. I'm calling people like this spiritual masturbators. You're just listening to
Mm-hmm.
this stuff, but never applying it. You're not actually doing the work. Like it's cool to know all this stuff, but understanding and understanding is two different things. You know, one is in the head, the other is in the heart. Like through firsthand direct experience, you can read all these books, listen to all these videos, and get the perspective from somebody else. But it's one thing to hear how the mountaintop looks like, but it's another to be, you know, 10 toes down at the top of the summit, viewing it from your own eyes. So that's why, again, some people, there's going to be some people that aren't even going to listen to this. There's going to be other people that are going to listen to this and not apply it. And there's going to be some people that listen to this and actually apply it. There's it takes a sort of will. That's why I would say like the spiritual aspirant is like an Olympic athlete. Like it takes sacrifice in the sense of you burning off your old self, you know, through all these practices. And not everybody's willing to walk through that fire to realize what's on the other side of it, because it might burn, it might hurt, you might feel disoriented at times. But I'm telling you, like for the people that are really about that life, like what else are you gonna fucking do? You know, like what else are
Yeah.
you gonna do?
There's nothing else to do, man.
Exactly.
This is the highest pursuit, if
Mm-hmm.
you want to call it a pursuit, the most virtuous pursuit that anyone can partake in the human experience,
Mm-hmm.
in the human endeavor, is the path. Yeah. Well, hey, man, I think that's a wonderful note to wrap this up at.
Yeah, that's a
I just
banger.
like to say,
Yeah.
right, thank you for coming on here. You're an awesome person. Keep up the good work. And that's it. I mean, do you have anything else that you want to say, though?
I want to say same thing to you, bro. Like I'm a person that does podcasts too as well on my channel. I would love to have you on. Get the put you in the other seat this time. You know, because
Yeah.
it's cool to get interviewed yourself. So I will definitely set that up. We'll get you on the Philosophers podcast, and I want to hear from your angle, like everything that we talked about, like from how you started on the path and all that good stuff. We'll save it for then. But dude, you're doing amazing stuff too, and more and more people are are putting themselves out there, which is needed in the sense of bringing this stuff to light. Because to me, there's a lot of people that talk about spirituality in the woo wah like new age sense, but like
Yeah.
when we hopped on this podcast, like it's right off rip. I can tell this guy is not
Yeah.
just trying to look spiritual, you know. He's trying
Do I
to
look spiritual?
and you're not just trying to, like look the part, look like a hippie, or like, I got the knickknacks, I'm doing ayahuasca, this and that. There's a too much
Yeah,
of
yeah.
that in my sense, like way too
Hmm.
much of that. And when I first got on the spiritual path, like I was like, yo, I don't want to end up like these motherfuckers. Like, if this is what meditation does, I'm good, I'm cool off that. Like, I
Yeah,
don't want to do that.
yeah, exactly.
You know, if this was psychedelics get you, like I'm good off that. But like when you hear the reasoning that you have and all that stuff to be able to break these things down. And I know that you mainly do podcasts, bro, but like an idea, I know I'm kind of like just throwing at you, but like commentary, bro, like you have a good voice too, bro. Like on being able to break down, like parts of the Bible, like you said. I would listen to that because you just planted that seed in my psyche. So just wanted to give you your flowers too as well, to understand that maybe not many people will give you your flowers in that sense when they on this seat, but I understand like the work it takes to do podcasts, to do content, this and that. And it's dope. Like once I saw your page, I was like, yeah, bro, this guy is with it. Like he's attuned and he's on the path too as well. He's not just talking about um how open his chakras are and stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
he's actually getting into the actual journey of it, and you can see it through the way you talk, the way you speak, and through everything that you've made so far, bro.
Well, thanks, brother.
Of course.
Real recognize real.
Yes, sir.
Truly appreciate you. And yeah, I've been having some ideas spurring in my head about that, like having more solo content,
Yeah, fire.
like finding the real ones, like finding the people that I can tap in with regularly, and then also having my solo journey. But we shall see.
Yes, sir.
We shall see what the future holds. But yeah, I'd love to talk to you again. I think that'd be awesome.
Hmm.
Until then, I wish you all the best.
Of course, bro.
Thank you, man. This was
Again,
an awesome
appreciate it.
conversation. Peace and love to you, and peace and love to everybody that listens to this song. Goodbye, y'all.